All right, everybody, I am back with a brand new movie review. What would the 4th of July be without a blockbuster film release? So I just got back from the theater and I just got done watching Axel F. Beverly Hills Cop 4, which it has premiered exclusively on Netflix. I just got done watching this in my theater. I love when I have the opportunity to watch a movie I haven't seen in there. It's just like going to the movies. And so let's talk about this movie. I don't know if this movie was eagerly anticipated or not by a bunch of people. I wanted to watch it just for the nostalgia purposes. And I love the first two films in the franchise. The third one was, it was all right. Okay, it's serviceable, but it really wasn't that good of a film. The good news is this film is much better than the third. Okay, so if you are able to get through that one and you enjoyed the first two, I think you're going to enjoy this one. The whole entire clan is back. And I really like how they brought these characters back together. Some movies kind of force things to be together, like I'll use an example of the most recent Ghostbusters film where all the kids happen to be back together. They had to write it into the story on how they would get back together, and it was a little convoluted. Here, it all makes sense. And in fact, it's very interesting. They bring in an adult, they bring in Axel Foley's adult daughter, who is 32 in the film, and she is a big part of this story. We also have Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Good grief. Took me a while to get his name there. But he's a big part of this as well. The story is all intertwined. We also have Kevin Bacon in this as the bad guy. This seemed like a classic formula for an action film. But it wasn't like this big, amazing action film. It was serviceable for what it did. And I'm going to compare this to the Bad Boys movies, which I had never seen either. And I just recently got done watching those. The first two films I really enjoyed. The third film that came up, didn't really like it that much at all. The fourth one, much better than number 3, but I wouldn't say it was better than 1 or 2, okay? That's kind of how I rank this. This one is much better, much better. This seemed like the production values were top-notch. You could tell they spent some money on this film. It was great to see Eddie Murphy back. I laughed out loud probably about a half a dozen times in the film. And I really enjoyed it overall. Now, before I give you my score, I want to talk about what I didn't like. First of all, they kind of forced 80s music in there, and they laid it on thick at the beginning for the nostalgia. It was overdone at the beginning. But it was still enjoyable, but it just didn't get you feeling anything. You know, when you think nostalgia, you're trying to bring back a feeling. The songs that they used and the way it was done at the beginning didn't bring back those feelings. I think we're very familiar with the other films. We know who he is. We don't need to be reminded through the 80s songs. Luckily, they do mix in some current songs in with this movie. So that was a little overblown, especially at the beginning. The other thing I didn't like is there were too many black jokes. Like, it was every time there was a scene with Axel Foley interacting with somebody else, there were just way too many black jokes. It was overdone. And it's been a while since I've seen the other films, but I don't remember many jokes like that in the past. And that kind of tells me that we're kind of going backwards with the whole thing. Because I don't think anybody cared that he was black back in the 80s when these movies came out, and then the 90s. I don't think anybody cared, but there were so many black jokes in this film that it was over the top. I could have done without it. It just let bygones be bygones at this stage. It just is what it is. Some people may appreciate it. I thought it was overdone, and that was it. So let's talk about my rating on this film. So out of 5 stars, I give it 3.5. I would like to give it more, but it wasn't like this amazing story. It was nothing we haven't seen before. I did like how they brought everybody together. It was serviceable. So it didn't quite reach that 4 mark. It definitely not a 5, but it wasn't a 3 either. 3 is something I could take or leave it. This film I would actually watch again at some point, and it's unfortunate that it's just on Netflix because they're never going to do a physical release. Luckily, I have ways of making my own physical discs, and this is one I will be adding to my collection with cover art and everything. So I'm going to add that to my collection for sure. All right, guys, so if you have seen Axel F., the 4th film in the Beverly Hills Cop franchise, what did you think? I do appreciate all the support. We will see you on the next review.